Hey there, welcome to Andrew's Take, where I will explain current events in a quick and unbiased way. I come from a graduate background in modern US military history. Today, let's discuss whether the US will take Greenland from its NATO ally Denmark. So, who lives in Greenland? Mostly indigenous people from North America called the Kalaaleet. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Known commonly as the Inuit, with a minority of ethnic Danes. There are about 56,000 inhabitants of the island, with scattered settlements along the coast. The majority of Greenlanders want independence from Denmark already. All five major political parties in the country agree on that. They just disagree on how and when independence should come. There are reports that the Americans are now supporting the independence movement in Greenland, with US intelligence services putting their thumbs on the scale. So, why does the Trump administration want Greenland? Controlling Greenland would extend the United States' strategic and economic control in the Arctic, which will be one of the most contentious and competitive areas in the 21st century. As the Arctic melts, resources are becoming more accessible and trade routes more viable. US seizure of the island would vastly extend the exclusive economic zone of the US into the resource rich Arctic. Obtaining Greenland would also transfer the territorial waters of Greenland from Denmark to the US, allowing the US to enforce stricter control on who navigates around the island, specifically Russia and China. Besides strategic calculations, we all know that Trump likes to put his name on things. We can't see into his mind, but we can safely assume that he would like to obtain the island as part of his legacy. Would taking Greenland from Denmark start a war? No. The Danes are not stupid. They know they can't match the US for power, not to mention that they have been one of our most staunch allies. But they also understand Donald Trump and how he negotiates, often veering into extremes before finding middle ground. It does seem that the Danes are trying to match Trump's extreme rhetoric in the hopes of negotiating a way out of this. The Danish prime minister recently said that if the US seized Greenland by force, that it would be the end of NATO. Is that true? No. NATO is simply too important for too many countries, especially in Central and Eastern Europe. For example, the Baltic states, that being Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, live in Russia's shadow and would not allow the alliance that guarantees their nation's survival to collapse because the Americans took an autonomous territory of Denmark. The Danes would have to act. They can't allow themselves to be seen as feckless, perhaps even going so far as to leave NATO themselves. But it wouldn't end NATO. In an interview with the press on January 10th, President Trump stated that the US, quote, needs Greenland because if we don't have it, then the Russians or Chinese will take it, and we're not going to be neighbors with them. Is that true? No. A seizure of Greenland by Russia or China would trigger Article 5 of NATO and bring all the alliance into war. Neither Russia nor China would risk world war over Greenland. However, as the Arctic melts and more of it becomes traversable year round, the US will become more vulnerable to hostile naval incursions from the north. Why is Greenland important to Denmark? Greenland gives Denmark outsized political relevance due to its strategic position in the Arctic. During the Cold War, Denmark was able to have significantly lower military expenditure than other NATO members because the US had free rein to place military assets on the island. This came to be known as the Greenlandic card. Denmark and Greenland also share a long history and cultural bonds. The Danes recolonized the island in the 1500s after earlier settlements had died off. Since then, there's been a continuous Danish presence on the island. Does Denmark benefit financially from Greenland? No. In fact, Denmark spends nearly 1 billion US dollars annually to support Greenland. Greenland's economy is nearly stagnant, with a GDP growth in 2025 of just 0.2%. So, how has the rest of Europe responded? Well, a coalition of major European leaders, including the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, and Spain, issued a joint statement on January 6, 2026, backing Danish sovereignty. They affirmed that, quote, Greenland belongs to its people, and its future is for Denmark and Greenland alone to decide, end quote. Will the Trump administration use military force to seize Greenland from the Danes? It's difficult to say with any certainty given Trump's negotiating style. He also enjoys being a bit of a wild card, making it even more difficult to speak with any kind of certainty. But taking into account Trump's personality and track record, I do believe that if he cannot negotiate a deal with Denmark, then he will seize the island through force. That being said, the administration will exhaust every option before taking that step, including supporting Greenland's independence movement and making extremely favorable overtures to the newly independent country. Finally, is this worth it? The short answer is no. Both countries are expending an exorbitant amount of political capital to achieve their aims, when it's really not worth it. The US already has nearly unlimited access to the island for military and investment purposes. For the Danes, Greenland has been moving towards independence for nearly 50 years. All of their political parties want independence, they just disagree on how and when it should be done. If Denmark succeeds in its goal, it may then lose Greenland all the same soon after. Okay, that's it. If there was a question of yours I did not answer, put it in the comments section and I will do my best to answer it. Thanks for watching and I hope you found this informative. If you did, please give it a like and share it to someone who you think would benefit. See you next time.